Story 1. My aunt is 85 now, but after she was dumped by the love of her life, she eventually caved in and married another man who adored her. She was a miserable person and constantly reminded him that he was and always would be her second choice. Couldn't understand why he turned into an alcoholic though. He adored her until the day he died, and by then she hated him, blamed him for everything that went wrong in her life, and told him this all the time. He finally gave up and over time just drank himself to death. Story 2. I married a girl because I was afraid of dying alone and had severe anxiety and people-pleasing traits from childhood trauma. I should have ended it multiple times throughout the relationship, but didn't because I was basically using taking care of her and my responsibility to her as an excuse not to kill myself. I eventually got help and realized how toxic and codependent the relationship was, and how much of me was being buried under a mask, and how badly that was feeding my depression and pursued divorce. Story 3. Is it ever as simple as that for people? I married someone who had been a great partner for a decade, but in retrospect, sensed that in the year leading up to the day, she seemed to change and want different things. A year into the marriage she had abandoned our old friends for a whole new group, and we basically didn't want to spend time together anymore. I definitely wanted a marriage with the person I had known and proposed to, but people can change, and so that person I wanted a life with no longer existed. Story 4. This is a tough one, and I can see both sides. I have been with a guy for 9 years who might have been my last choice for a serious relationship back then. But then something happened. We established a great friendship and we've been through a lot together. Is he perfect? Nope. Am I? Of course not. Is he my soulmate? Not by a long shot. Does he drive me nuts sometimes? You betcha. But you know what? At the end of the day, I still like him as a human being. If that's settling, then I would be perfectly happy. Story 5. I wouldn't say better than nothing, but we dated. She was below what I felt should have been my standard. I said screw it because I'd already been divorced, and stats say that people who get one divorce are likely going to have more than one, so why not get it out of the way? 17 years later, and it's been great. We've never had a major fight. We do all kinds of stuff together and have our own happy solo hobbies. This is the best marriage I could have ever asked for, and I have no intention of ending it. Story 6. My husband and I both say that we chose each other because instead of being great in some aspects and horrible in another, like a 10 for looks, but a 0 for personality, we feel like we're a solid 7 across the board. Sure, we could have keep seeking someone with more money or better looks, but those people always have the flaws to match. But by marrying someone who was satisfactory in every way has made for a very happy marriage. But we also agree that we'd never say the other is better than nothing, or that we settled. Story 7. When my husband and I first met, we got pregnant within 3 months of dating. We got married 2 years ago and just had another kiddo this year. We wouldn't have stayed together if it wasn't for the first kid. I can admit to that. I was 20, and he was 21 when our oldest was born. It was rough and we still have our bad days. With maturing as adults, parents, having open communication and cutting out the petty young relationship drama, we've become a pretty good team. And our kids have everything we never did growing up. Story 8. Got married young to someone because I got pregnant. I felt like I didn't have much of an option, and in the future, no one would want a single mom. We made it about 1.5 years and divorced. He cheated and I kicked him out. I am now dating the real guy I've always dreamt about, and he treats my daughter as his own, and we just had another baby in March. I am still in touch with my ex, and we're good friends, and try to show our daughter that even though me and her dad aren't together, we can still be friends and happy. Story 9. I wouldn't never call her my better than nothing, but when I was younger, I would not have considered my wife marriage material. Now I know better. I was a massive moron. Trying relationships with people who are superficially good, but don't fit well with your life is a bad idea. In fact, I'm amazed I lucked out and picked the better option despite myself. It is underappreciated by everyone that people need to learn both what they like and what works well for them. Giving people a chance is important to figure that out. Story 10. So my marriage is not better than nothing, but I was also never obsessed with my wife the way I have been obsessed with a new person before. Part of the reason I was willing to marry her was because we communicated well, worked with each other to improve each other's lives, and we generally enjoy many of the same things, while still retaining who we are individually. The biggest thing is that we both felt physically and emotionally safe with each other. I am now obsessed. I love my wife more than I have ever loved anyone. Story 11. I'm pretty sure that my wife and I were together at first for lack of better options. We were both older and not finding many prospects. We've actually discussed it a decade down the road and we're both truly happy. I'd fight a grizzly to keep her safe and happy. And she has proven her dedication to our life together in many, many ways. Was it love at first? Probably not, but now it most definitely is. I guess we were more compatible than we knew. And with respect and caring, we both found how much love we could share. Story 12. That's actually the mentality behind arranged marriages. The idea is that the connection will grow from the two people just working on it and knowing they have to going in. I'll never forget in college when a girl's car broke down on the way to a thing for one of our classes, and she was there 10 minutes later anyway, because her husband dropped what he was doing and swapped cars with her, staying with the broken down one, while she got where she needed to go. That started out as an arranged marriage, and I was amazed by that. Why? Story 13. Didn't marry him but lived in a small town and dated him. Lasted a year and 3 weeks and I moved away for college. Met up with him maybe 3 times during our long-distance relationship. Broke up. He became the biggest stalker I've ever encountered. Threatened to kill himself if we didn't get back together. Rang my parents. My brother, who was 14 at the time, got his mom to ring my family. Got mutual friends involved. That was 6 years ago. He still runs, not walks, towards me if he sees me in the street when I visit home. Worst mistake of my life. Story 14. At the time, I was hopeful. I guess I knew he was my better than nothing. Because I had faced rejection so much in my life, but he didn't. So I was hopeful. I was hopeful for so damn long. But I was wrong. He has rejected me. And he's just one of a long line of many who have. It's just that we happen to still be legally married. And it's not as simple as just walking away and ending it. If I knew then what I know now, I would have just kept going, even if it meant being alone for the rest of my life. Because I might as well be. Story 15. On our second date, I asked if he wanted kids. He said no. Cool. It would have been a deal breaker for me if he did. Years passed. We reviewed our choice, both sober and drunk, still didn't want kids. More years passed and his biological clock started ringing. He brought up the subject a few times. Although he wasn't a 100% sure. It felt terrifying. I was left staring at an abyss, losing my partner of 10 years or being a mother. Thankfully he decided against it in the end, but I imagine that what you felt when your partner changed her mind was the same. Story 16. These two. For my job I see a lot of people from all around the world, and got to know a couple who are now my saviors. She was married to her late husband who got murdered by the regime. Because of their cultural background she needed to marry to the younger brother of her husband. He never had a relationship before. When they married they were both about 40 years young, and now have 2 children together. They are like glue and could not be more happy. Best part is that the second husband is now taking care of the granddaughters of his wife. They love him dearly. Story 17. If I marries just to be married, I think you're really rolling the dice. It could work or maybe not. I'm very fortunate I didn't do this at a younger age. It appeared everyone I knew from HS was married a kid in tow. Yet I went out on my own and was single for many years. I almost married in my late 20s. Thank all that is holy I didn't. He was a psycho. I did marry much later, and it's been up and down. When it comes to matters of the D there's no guarantees. I've seen arranged marriage work well or they're miserable. The same with traditional Western marriage too. Story 18. I married my better-than-nothing option in my 30s. We both understood what we had waited for and committed ourselves fully to the marriage. Sometimes I wonder what would have happened if I had married my preferred option, and I realize that the love I feel from the person I married is so much better than the preferred option would have been. I never did convince the preferred option to date me, while the woman I'm married to now found me easy to love. In other words, my romantic self is an idiot, and my better-than-nothing was actually better than everything. Story 19. I never felt like I was dating better than nothing, and I've never been married, only engaged. But looking back now that I'm in a great relationship, I realize that's exactly what I was doing. They met my short-term needs, but long-term, like another commenter said, I wouldn't have liked the person I became if I stayed. And it would have been really hard to stay long-term. If you're on the fence about your better-than-nothing option, know that being single is its own enjoyable lifestyle. You'll always miss certain aspects of both lives, but happiness settling always. Story 20. I wouldn't say either of us settled for the better-than-nothing option, but I didn't, and I doubt the wife thought we'd still be together now, after the first few months of dating, which was damn near 8 years ago now. We were, and still are, very different people personality-wise. But we share the same values, morals, worldview, etc., and have basically been helping each other become better people. But yeah, I don't think either of us were the other's type, and early on, it really was kind of a, well, there is something here. Let's just see what happens. And here we are. Story 21. Throwaway. I feel like my partner has stronger feelings towards me than me towards him. I've always been more passionate about my career, but felt a lot of pressure from family social circles to marry. I figured he was better than nothing. To be fair, I may have had feelings for him at some point, and I do appreciate his company. But our marriage is kind of blah. We've been married a few years now, and it's getting better. We have mutual interests like going out to eat and spending time with friends. But when we're home alone, we just end up doing our own thing. It's just okay. Story 22. I have a marriage pact with my old best friend. She's a great woman and incredibly attractive. We made this pact when we were much younger and lived together. It was her idea to get married if we were both single past 30. I forgot about until quite recently. Well, that age 30 mark came and went a couple of years ago, and while we still talk a lot and occasionally hang, we ruined the chance 6 years by sleeping together, I think. I don't think there is an organic way of bringing it up. Also, I don't think she would be happy with me since I haven't been happy with me for a long time.